Welcome to the Lock Shop with Nielson and Hustler, powered by Coolbet Canada.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Lock Shop. Dustin Nielson with you. Hustler is with us as well. Andrew Paterson out of Winnipeg Sports Talk. And we got lots to get to today. A little MLB parlay on the way. Recapping last night's game in the Canadian Football League. We already gave you our picks for the week, but we can set up tonight's game as well. Huss, what's going on, man? I don't know if Zacticum's ever going to kill the music or if he's just going to keep playing it or what. That was the longest slow fade of all time, Zach. That was legendary.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of the Riders in the second half yesterday.
Oh, man. How do we get – now, if you got on the 4.5 yesterday morning when it was briefly at that, I guess you got it done. But we get screwed by a guy who'd never taken a snap in the Canadian Football League.
16-3 at halftime.
I know.
Up 13 points and getting 3.5. The Riders get shut out in the second half. And welcome to the Canadian Football League. Davis Alexander comes off the bench, goes 12 for 12 for 148 and 2 touchdowns on his first 12 throws, finishes 15 of 18 for 178, a couple nice runs. And they not only come back to win the game, but cover the damn spread, winning by 4. Listen, as a Winnipeg guy, I will take a small bit of solace out of this, that it was the Riders that blew it and lost a game they absolutely should have had. But honestly, that was secondary. I cannot believe we lost that bet last night. The Lock Shop partner parlay was on it. I had it individually. And listen, at halftime, you're thinking this was easy peasy, man. Rider defense looking great. Davis Alexander is the story of this game. Well as cornrow man Shea Paterson is inability to do anything in the second half. But very, very impressive win for Montreal. And to do it with a performance like that from a third-string quarterback, I mean, just amazing. But that didn't make any of the lock shoppers feel any better of it if you had the Riders at 3.5 last night.
If you had the under or the lock shop play of the day yesterday on Coolbet Socials, which was the Alouettes under 26, you would have cashed last night. But the Riders letting what looked like it was going to be at least a cover slide away, and tough start to our week in the Canadian Football League. That being said, I did listen to CFL 110, part of it on my drive into work today. Another strong episode from you and Jeff Hamilton, buddy. It's becoming one of my favorite podcasts. I'm really enjoying it. And it's probably because of my heavy ties to the Canadian Football League, but I love it. It's a good show. I got to say, Huss, I'm a huge fan. I'm a huge fan of yours and your work on CFL 110. It's an honor to work with you here in the Lock Shop.
Well, I appreciate you, Dusty. And yes, for all you ESTers out there that want more on the CFL from coast to coast, search CFL 110 wherever you get your favorite pods, or head over to the Winnipeg Sports Talk YouTube channel. Give us a sub while you're at it, and check it out. We usually come out with new episodes on Wednesdays. You know, I will say this. I'm just checking the old open bets. And there still is one out there. Oh, that was a push. The DGen Den parlay from yesterday. We had the under for the Riders and Alouettes, the over for the A's and the Angels, the under in the Braves and the Mets, and then the Nippon Ham Fighters from the Japanese league. And it says that game was pushed. I guess that one maybe was taken out. Anyways, it looks like that was refunded. It would have been nice to get the win, but see what happened in that. And then, and I popped down to win to watch the game, the second half of the game, and saw it unravel. And at the same time, had the Braves Mets game on the other TV and saw them screw it up in extra innings and then lose it. So this is always a time of year. I find I get taught some tough lessons late July, early August, and it fortifies me to prepare for the oncoming
NFL season. You're right, 100%.
Just around the corner. Hey, while we're talking CFL,
yeah,
Rasheed Bailey.
I had it on my list here. I was like, this guy's got to be coming back to Winnipeg. It's on my list of things to discuss.
Is he going to start on Saturday? That's my question.
Did they sign him?
No, but they're talking with them. I mean, that could happen at any point today.
He could play on Saturday for sure.
In any other scenario, like, there's no way a guy's going to a new team and coming right in. But Bailey's been with the Bombers for the last number of years. Caleros knows him really well. And, like, if anyone has heard Rasheed Bailey talk, I mean, he is the most intense individual, 24/7, 365. To get cut by the Argos, to come back to the Bombers, where I think he wanted to stay to begin with, in a revenge game possibility, like 48 hours after being cut, sign me up for that. I mean, I know it sounds nuts, but this is a guy you could literally plop right into the lineup. I don't think that he'd miss a beat. He knows the playbook. He knows the quarterback. He knows the team. And right now, while Kenny Lawler's out, they still are looking for more from that offense. And Sheed actually was having a pretty good season too.
Yeah.
It was a little surprising that the Argos let him go.
Yeah, I don't know if there's more to that story or what, but he seemed like he had a really nice start to the season. And I mean, it would be crazy in some other spots to throw that guy. I mean, hell, the Elks have started 3 guys that they signed week of on the defensive side of the ball, but that's a different situation. But if there was one player around the league right now that got released by their team that could go and sign with another team and you wouldn't miss a beat, it's Rasheed Bailey. That would be the number one guy. He spent so much time in Winnipeg, was always a guy who I wanted to see a little bit more of in the offense because they had so many other options. I mean, it makes too much sense. It makes too much sense.
I would be shocked if it doesn't happen. I know Jeff Hamilton is in Toronto reporting that it's not going to happen for playing on Saturday. I'll believe that when I see it, though. I still do not rule out the possibility of Showtime Sheed being back in blue and gold and being on the field as a visitor at BMO Field. Ben Grant, who does the color analyst for the Argos, said they're very high on Polk, who is only 22 and on a rookie contract. And you've got Deveris, Daniels, and Coxey. Mattel and Unger are back. Edwards hurt. You have to start 2 Canadian receivers, and the American vets aren't going on the PR. So it's just sort of a situation where Rasheed Bailey found himself on the outside looking in, and that could be a very good thing for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. So we'll see what happens in that one over the course of the next 24 hours. It's certainly something that we'll be talking about on Winnipeg Sports Talk today. And I'm just looking at these other games right now. Nothing's really changed since we did the show yesterday. Calgary still is a slight 1-point favorite, minus 114 on the money line. Both of these next 2 games are basically pick'ems.
Yep.
And then, the Bombers minus 112, Argos minus 108 in the game on Saturday night. But I will tell you this, if Rasheed Bailey is signed by the Bombers, and I guess if he's not playing on Saturday, they probably wait until Monday to do it. I'd be surprised if he's not at least on the Bombers sidelines, packing a bag to get on the plane to go home with the squad and get back to it here in Winnipeg.
Just on that game tonight, the Calgary-Ottawa game, we do have some player props that are posted that we did not have yesterday for this game. So let's just dive into those right now. Let's just start with your anytime touchdown scorers. Tommy Stevens at minus 167. Dedrick Mills, who I believe still doesn't have a touchdown this season, is at minus 167. Dustin Crumb's at minus 143. Rock Armstead's minus 133. This is where you get in some territory that I like. Reggie Begelton, plus 135, and Markin Michelle, plus 150, followed by Dom Rhymes at plus 160 as well. So Huss, anything on that touchdown list that I just laid out for you that you like in this game tonight? Touchdowns are going to be scored tonight for sure.
Well, I would be missing an opportunity just to say Khalil Pimpleton's name by not mentioning that he is at plus 175 and Ackland as well at plus 170. I mean, this is a game that I could see both teams scoring some points and putting it in. I mean, I think if I was looking at an over on one of the games, this could absolutely be one of them that I think you'd look at. As far as the touchdown scorers, I mean, Beggleton at plus 135 sort of stands out to me. He is that guy that Jake Mayer knows he can always go to him.
Three touchdowns already this year. Yeah.
Reliable player. So I think Beggleton, and then I'm trying to pick, okay, between these Ottawa receivers, Rhymes, Ackland, Pimpleton, who do we like the most? Rhymes probably sees the most footballs and certainly has the big playability. So maybe the plus 160 on Rhymes. But I think there's some value on all those guys because I think Drew Brown's going to be airing it out. His passing total for the game, 280 yards. I mean, a pretty big number. But again, we've seen some big numbers from Drew Brown through the air so far this season.
We put up that 480 game against Edmonton. I'm not even sure that counts. I was looking at Jake Mayer's passing touchdowns over 1.5. That's at minus 133. I think he's thrown at least one touchdown pass in 9 straight now. This is off my prep notes for last game. And he had 3 touchdown passes last game. So I'm pretty sure he's thrown a touchdown pass in 9 straight games. Like I said, Dedrick Mills does not have a touchdown yet this year. Tommy Stevens handles all the short yardage work for this team. I like Jake Mayer over 1.5 passing touchdowns. I think, especially if, like you said, Huss, if this is going to be a little bit of a run and gun affair, not crazy. I don't think it's going to be 40-35, but can they take a run at the 50? For sure. I don't necessarily love the minus 133 number on it, but the over 1.5, I like for Jake Mayer tonight.
What about Drew Brown? He's over 1.5 at minus 125.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if I'd rather take his over 280 at minus 110 or the over 1.5 passing touchdowns at minus 125. I think I'd probably lean over the 1.5 passing touchdowns if I was just looking back between the 2 Drew Brown props. Probably go the over 1.5 on that as well. Receiving player totals. Let's take a look. Rhymes 52.5, Hardy 67.5. Pimpleton, 61.5. Markin Michelle, 52.5. And Reggie Beggleton, 52.5. And their receptions are 4 for Rhymes, 5.5 for Hardy, 4.5 for Pimpleton, 4.5 for Markin Michelle, and 4.5 for Reggie Beggleton. All of them somewhere within minus 112 to minus 128, essentially.
Yeah, and listen, if we're liking the over and we think that there's going to be some points and these quarterbacks are going to be airing it out, I think these are some pretty reasonable numbers if you're looking for a fun over on a passing prop or so. I like Rhymes at 52.5. I think I like Beggleton at 52.5 as well. And, with how much we've been talking about Khalil Pimpleton and how many balls he's been getting from Drew Brown lately, and just how much I think they're going to have to throw the football in this game, I don't even mind the 61.5, which I think pushes us a little closer to that over 280 for the game. I was just saying we do have some CFL exclusives.
Yeah, I'm looking at them right now. This is terrific. I love it.
This might be, and considering what happened to our lock shop partner parlay, thanks to the Riders and Davis Alexander, we may need to get back at it with some of these exclusives. So here we got the Mills Mafia. Dedrick Mills anytime touchdown, 70 or more rushing yards, and a Stamps win is plus 300. Look at, you can't handle the Druth. Drew Brown.
That's a Jake Bolin Moss special.
He's killing it. You can't handle the Druth. Drew Brown, 275 plus passing yards, 2 passing TDs, and Red Blacks to win. plus 350. Row together, Kadeem Carey, anytime touchdown, Deveris Daniels, 4 or more receptions, and the Argos to win, plus 475. And then bombs away, Zach Caleros, 2+ TDs, 300 passing yards, which is a big number, and the Bombers to win. Some would argue that if the Bombers are going to win, they're going to need a performance like that from Zach Caleros. 300 is a big number, though. I mean, I don't think we've seen, I think one game this season against the Calgary Stampeders, Zach was in and around there. Otherwise, it's actually been a little more Brady Oliveira. He's gone over 100 in the last 2 games, so I think that's taken away a little bit from it. But anyways, there's some CFL exclusives for you. And, oh, yes, Canada Olympic exclusives. Don't forget, everybody, we do have Philip Kim, a.k.a. Phil Wizard, to win gold in breaking at plus 250 for the event. Hey, just while do you any more on CFL, or are you good?
No, I'm good on CFL. I just wanted to pass along. Jake has said that it was Patty that came up with "You Can't Handle the Truth." So,
yeah. You know what? They keep trying to top each other with great names for the exclusives. Great job to both of our pals, Patty and Jake, for cranking that out. You Can't Handle the Truth, though, is definitely one of the best exclusives that we've seen so far this year. Did you guys talk much about the Canadian women's national team being the New England Patriots of international soccer?
We had Shinetti on. This morning to talk about it. Men's and women's teams both being tied into this thing. We wanted Shinetti on to see like what he thinks the ramifications of this are going to be. Like, does it blow up so much? And we know soccer is pretty sketchy in the first place, not just for Canada. Like, let's be honest, this is not the worst thing that's ever happened in soccer. But like, there's no way they step up and say, we're taking away your World Cup presence or something along those lines. Like, Shinetti's like, he goes, I don't want to say no or yes right now because it's so early in the process, but there's got to be some sort of, like, something comes out of this, doesn't it, Huss? I mean, when it looks like it's been going on for, like, 4 or 5 years? Like, this is ridiculous.
It sounds like it's as much as 10. Now, I'm not sure how commonplace this is. Like, put it this way. They didn't hide it very well. Even yesterday, on the CSA website, Canada Soccer had a job posting from January for performance analyst, women's national team. And it says you need a bachelor's degree in sport. You need a proven track record working as a performance analyst within an elite football environment. You need to be able to operate drones and possess working knowledge of managing training camera is preferred. Like, it's in the posting that is still up there right now. Now, I do think that they still, for their own purposes, will use drones and do training.
That's not a great look, though, buddy.
It's just an absolute mess, though. Like, and listen, again, I'm not sure if this is commonplace, if this is very rare. It's obviously, though, not kosher. And Canada looks terrible. But the fact of the matter is that we went in, like, it just looks like such an amateur hour operation to show up the Olympics and think that you were just going to get away with this.
Yeah.
Like, the guy got arrested half an hour after being in France. It's just unbelievable. So Bev Priestman is done, or Bevlichik, as I like to call her.
Bevlichik. Did you come up with that yourself, or did you see that somewhere?
I did. That's a Huss original. Tweeted that out yesterday. So he's done.
Bevlichik.
He's done. And as I said, I just feel brutal for the women on the team. Like, they have been like the golden generation, like the most successful Canadian soccer squad ever. It does put a little bit of a stain, I think, on their most recent Olympic championship, considering what's been reported. And I mean, the women on the team have nothing to do with this. And man, they are going to be public enemy number 1 when they play France coming up. Like, the New Zealand game, game. There was a lot around it. There wasn't a lot of people in the stadium. The Olympics hadn't technically even started. With all of this attention, playing against the home team who will be favored, I do worry that it could be a long, long day, and the women are gonna be hearing it. I mean, that is for sure. You know, I was just talking to Jesse Camagato from CBC for WST today, and for the Olympic Games this weekend, we're gonna have Summer McIntosh could pull multiple medals tomorrow when things get going. And then, of course, we've got the men's basketball up against Greece. And I think, let's see here. We got basketball.
We got player props. I'm looking at the player props right now.
We got the props right now for this Greece game. Let's go through some of these. First of all, Canada. Canada's a 7.5-point favorite. That's a lot against the team with Giannis. I think people are just really high on this Canadian team, and you know, they put that line. Listen, if they can cover that number and win by 8, that'll be an unbelievable start for the Canadians. I just want them to get that win. The money line win is minus 333. Greece plus 250. But let's see what we've got for these player props. Let's just check the point totals right now. Where's Giannis? 25.5 is his number. The other Canadians, Dylan Brooks, 11.5.
SGA's 21.5, man. We got to get on the over for that.
Yes.
Like,
I'm with you.
100%. Over
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, minus 111 over 21.5. I don't see a Jamal Murray number in here.
Well, Jamal Murray's been banged up, right? So that's probably why we're not seeing the number.
They just don't know how much.
I don't think they know how much he's going to play, so it'd be tough to put that number up right now, at least. That would be the reason. I mean, there's no other reason for him not to be up there, right? So,
RJ Barrett assists 2.5 over his plus 100. Shea 4.5 assists over his plus 154. What else do we got here? Player 3-pointers. Dylan Brooks, 1.5. Even money on the over. That might be a fun one to go. RJ Barrett, 1.5. He's minus 105. Shea, 1.5. His over is plus 120. So those are the 3 Canadians in the mix. Dylan Brooks seems a guy that does not give an F. He will put it up when he wants to. I actually had Kirby Shep, who coaches the U of M, on yesterday, and he coached most of these guys with the national junior team when they were coming up.
Yeah.
He described Dylan Brooks as exactly the way you see him. He was, quote, a challenge to coach at times, but he has absolutely no fear and will challenge the best on the other team to take their best shot. So be interesting to see what sort of business he gives our buddy Giannis tomorrow when things get going.
Yeah, he'll try to be getting under his skin. There's no doubt about that. I do. Who do we have on? We had Leuenberg on earlier in the week, and we were talking about Greece. And he said, they're probably going to be the toughest matchup for Canada coming through the group just because of Giannis and the fact that Canada doesn't – like the one area where Canada's the weakest is in the area where you'd like to defend against Giannis.
Yes.
Giannis should be able to play nothing against Brooks and like some of these other guys who are good defenders but just don't have anywhere near the size necessary to go and crash and bang against a guy like Giannis. So I would assume the path to victory for Greece would be a little Giannis bully ball, drawing as many double teams as he can, and then kicking it out for some open looks. So actually very excited to watch this basketball game, buddy. I'm not going to lie. I can't wait to watch this one. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a lot of fun. By the way, in chat, we got to give a shout out to Darren Belog. Darren won the majors contest.
Oh, congratulations, man. That's awesome. Yeah.
Nicely done. He said he was fired up. He put all my chips into the open. I really wanted that swag. So yeah, he will be getting huge final major, Darren. And Pat and the guys will get in touch with you. But that is great to see. Somebody from the lock shop coming in and getting that win. I certainly didn't make a big push. It was funny. I had Xander on a whole bunch of things, but didn't have the outright on him. I'm still kicking myself on that. But it's just the way that it's been going lately. See last night's CFL opener for another example of how that is. By the way, let's do a quick look at this golf before we move on.
Hey, what are we
Matt
at? What's the leaderboard looking at?
10 under par right now, and the Gim Reaper. I was thinking about the Gim Reaper on the card. He went 64 today. He is at 7 under. Sam Burns finished today. He was 6 under today. He gets to 7. Mac Hughes is at 7, and he has not yet played today. Adam Svensson, there's Svenny. He's at 6 under, looking pretty good. Ben Silverman as well. I'm going to see. I think I've got some late. And Pendy's 5 under. He tees off, actually, I think with Mac Hughes at 105 today. Move down. Tony Finau. Tony was 4 under. He is going off in about 25 minutes. Looking down, who else do we have here on the Davis Riley? No. Looks like the cut is going to be -2. So
that's what
guys like
that's what it's projected at right now. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, Badia, again, who knows? That could change. But Badia's -1. He's teeing off shortly. Hollywood Hoagie, he's -1. He's teeing off shortly. And then, of course, we've got Luke Clanton, the amateur. He's going off at 2 today. Got him at 28-1. He's got a little bit of work to do. But we've seen there's some nice scores out there. I mean, if you can go put a 5 or a 6 under and just get into the mix and play the weekend, all these guys will be in a pretty good shape. So, yes, for particularly for the lock shot picks and what we had going on, we're looking at this afternoon round and a bunch of action right now to be paying attention from the 3M Open in the Twin Cities. And then next Wednesday is going to be a fun show, Dusty. Our usual golf show. Patty will join us, and we'll get into the Olympics.
Olympic golfing.
And, I think the Olympic golf is going to be – it is going to feel a little bit like sort of an extra major, to be honest. I mean, it'll look different on television. It'll be broadcast different. But you have to think that this is bigger than any other event they're going to be playing this year outside of the 4 majors. And, man, with Xander on the heater that he's on right now as the defending champ, I know Scotty Scheffler's the betting favorite right now, but I think by the time we get to Wednesday, I have a feeling that gap might close a little bit, and I think there'll be a lot of people looking for Xander to just keep it rolling.
Do you find a lot of good resources to bet on Olympics, like preview events of like the 800-meter freestyle? Like, how do you approach this, man? Like, that's a deep dive. That's a real deep dive. Like,
it's the deepest of dives. And, you know, one of the benefits of doing sports talk every day is that we can get people on and ask questions that for the show just sound like questions about, tell us about the thing. And really, we're making some notes on risers, fallers. This bit we've got today with Jesse Campagato is going to be awesome. We talk about a bunch of our local athletes, but also some of the best medal chances for Canada coming up over the bit. I wonder if I don't think there's any Summer McIntosh props right now. But, you know, from the sounds of it, I mean, she could push Penny Alexiak for the most medals ever by a Canadian at an Olympic Games. So we'll be jumping on her right now. I see, what do we have here? The 1,500-meter freestyle. I don't think Summer's in that. I think it's the 800 that she's in. But again, you know, there's going to be, like on a daily basis, I think we're going to get there and then start just going through all of this. I'd love to have a little more information on the handball. Handball's getting going. We've got some big matchups in the event. Handball futures. Who's our favorite? Denmark and France, the 2 favorites in handball. You can all of a sudden.
I'm curious. What's the number? Guys. Are they like minus something?
Denmark. This is to win the gold medal. Denmark plus 160.
Oh.
France plus 180. And then Sweden plus 650.
So 2 great nations.
Egypt and Spain next up at 12-1. Croatia 17. Norway 20, Germany 30, Hungary 50, Slovenia 150-1. Denmark and Sweden are the favorites to win their respective groups. That might be an interesting way to put it in, considering they're in opposite groups. And Denmark is actually in the France group. So Sweden at plus 110. The next ranked team is the Spaniards, who are at plus 12-1. Maybe we'll go a little Sweden plus 110 to win Group A.
Sweden
Get on that.
plus 110. Did you ever play handball growing up?
We played in elementary school. We played a game called pin handball.
Okay, what's that?
And I don't know whether that was just invented by one of our gym teachers, but we had a full intramural league. It was awesome. It was sort of like handball, I guess. And it was played with a ball about this size or so, one of those sort of
squishy,
soft,
a little bit,
yeah. And you would pass it, you would run it, whatever, and then there was a bowling pin inside of a almost like a half circle.
Okay.
And you had to you couldn't go inside the circle, and you had to knock every time you knocked the pin over. That was a point.
So there was like no goalie in net or anything. Like it was just
pin. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Yeah, pin handball, fun. Shout out to Brock Corden, the Brock Corden Eagles down on Corden Avenue.
I remember we had it was the intramurals in junior high school at Parkland Junior Secondary in Cranbrook. And I'll never forget this moment. I don't know why, but we had one of the guys who was on my basketball team was in net, and we were playing handball. And I can't remember if it was in gym or intramurals. I think it was intramurals because there were people sitting on the stage watching. And somebody like jumped in and fired the shot on him, and it hit him in the hip, like just in the hip. And he was a big guy. Like he was probably 6'4", probably about 6'4" in grade 10. And he went pale. Like he just went pale and just fell over. I'd never seen somebody's skin go so pale so quickly. Took this handball right off the hip, and he just went white as a ghost and then fell over. It was insane. Now, he was a little injury prone. This guy was injury prone because in warm-ups that same year for basketball, he went up and dunked, hung on the rim too long. His feet swung out from underneath him, and he fell straight down and broke his arm. In warm-ups on a dunk. It was he was kind of a clumsy big man, but still a beauty. But yeah, that was a tough look there. Old Dana was his name. He was a beauty. So anyway, I haven't played handball since then.
Is Big Maple in the chat today?
Well, he was texting in.
Oh yeah, here's Big Maple.
Yeah.
Big Maple had let's go. Oh, Big Maple was talking about the DGen Den parlay yesterday. We were let down by the Nippon Ham Fighters big time. Apparently, they call the game if tied after the 12th inning. Who knew?
That was the first thing I saw on our show this morning. Like we sit down, we fire up the show at 6 a.m. and there's a bunch of people being like sweating out a parlay in the DGen Den right now. And I was like, you guys are hilarious. Like, I thought that was good.
I was on it as well. We always like to see where Big Maple's at right now. He needs a bounce back after last week. He's like Curtis Blades and Bilal Muhammad, both live dogs in his opinion, putting the $25 free bet and get on Bilal Muhammad. Oban Elliott plus 120 is going to hit as well. And speaking of that, Patty just mentioned.
They've boosted some stuff, haven't they?
Yeah, they boosted both of the favorites in the main event on a super boost in the bet cards, minus 128 to plus 110. I was actually looking at this. My guy, Patty the Batty, is going at it, and Meatball Molly as well. And I think if we go back, yes, there is a You'll Never Walk Alone boosted exclusive. Patty the Batty to beat Bobby Green and Meatball Molly to beat Bruna Brazil. That's boosted from plus 140 to plus 178. And you know what's interesting about this? And the only reason I know this, and I think I told you this a couple weeks ago, it was like Saturday night, and it was getting on, and I realized I had forgotten to put in my UFC bet. And I mean, I will just do that naturally every day, because even if you lose, you get the free bet on Monday. So, I mean, you're crazy not to take advantage of it. And I'm looking up, I'm like, oh, Paddy Pimblett, right on. Clicked on it, and then realized that I had just bet a fight that was 3 weeks from when I was making the wager. So I've actually got Paddy, but when that bet was made, he was plus 115. He's minus 110 right now. And I get it. He's a popular, very public fighter. But this one looks to be basically a pick'em right now. But the other exclusive that they've got with the Super Boost is Leon Edwards over Bilal Muhammad and Tom Aspinall over Curtis Blades. And that one has a nice boost from minus 128 to plus 110 to defend those belts. But I'm riding with Paddy and Meatball Molly, and I think I'll get in on that at plus 178, considering I'm already exposed with Paddy at plus 115.
Zacticum brought it up to me that because Zacticum's a big MMA guy. So before we start today, Bobby Green has changed his name. Did you see this? He's supposedly no longer Bobby Green. He changed his first name to King. Legally changed his first name to King. So by all accounts, his name is now King Green. Like, as far as choosing your own name and legally changing it just to go straight to King, I'm impressed. Like, I don't know if that's why the line moved in favor of Paddy, because they're like, he's too focused on the name change as opposed to the fight. But King Green is now a thing. So there's that.
That's a hell of a handle.
Yeah.
And I hope he gets crowned by Paddy the Batty in this event. Now, I'm just looking at those two bets that we were talking about. Edwards is minus 256. Aspinall is minus 357. So both pretty significant favorites. And if you put those in together, you wanted to just do it on your own on the site, minus 128. But as I mentioned, if you do like those, make sure you jump on that betting card up at the top, because the Super Boost is in, and it goes from minus 128 to plus 110. Although, dangerous one. Big Maple likes Muhammad. Potentially is the opportunity to go and get Leon Edwards, who is that favorite. I would be lying if I started trying to give you some hot takes on a number of these guys. Pimblett, very, very entertaining. I love listening to his podcast, trying to understand what he's saying with that Liverpool accent. He's got the ridiculous bowl cut. So I'll be pulling for him and Meatball Molly. But I think the easiest way to go about it is maybe take advantage of one of these boosts. Although I do like the You'll Never Walk Alone. I mean, Molly, what's Molly as far as the she's minus 333. So in a lot of ways, if you think that Molly's getting it done, instead of betting Paddy at minus 110, you jump on that You'll Never Walk Alone prop and get it all the way up to plus 178 for the action tomorrow night.
Christine Sinclair has released a statement, Huss, on the Canadian soccer scandal right now. And this is it. She posted it on her Instagram, and it says, having contested over 300 international matches, including 4 Olympic Games, there was no greater honor than wearing the maple leaf and representing Canada on the world stage. As players, we train endlessly our whole lives for these moments. Together, we take pride in letting our play speak for itself. We battle within the touchlines with integrity and try to meet each result with grace, win, lose, or draw. It's unfortunate that the players of our national team have had to play through condemnable actions by some of their staff as they attempt to defend our gold medal. Actions players have no control over. I want to be clear that having been a national team player for 23 years, we were never shown or discussed drone footage in team or individual meetings I've been present for. With one win already under their belts, I cannot wait to see what these players can continue to achieve in the tournament together, and I will continue to support the players along the way. I hope all Canadians will join me in doing so. Thoughts on that?
Listen, I think that is the exact tone that someone as decorated as Christine Sinclair would have. Like, I'm with her. I feel terrible for Julia Grosso and Kadisha Buchanan and all of these players that were on that team that are now there in Paris trying to defend their title and having to deal with all of that. I mean, this is completely outside. And they're the ones that make the plays, make the passes, score the goals. They're doing that. Like, I still don't even know what sort of a benefit really this is. I mean, scouting is so advanced now in professional sport, in elite sport, that, I mean, what do you get out of recording a training session? I mean, I don't know. And that's why I don't think, or at least I hope, there's not any massive punishment. But listen, the people that have been behind this, are going to have to answer to it. As I said, I think Bevlicek is gone. And you know what's going to be very interesting, Dusty? When's the next John Herdman media availability with TFC? Because he's got a fire on his hands with the team it stands right now. They've been terrible in getting their asses kicked as of late. But here's a minus 10,000 lock. There'll be plenty more media than normal at the next TFC training session when the manager speaks, because as this report from Rick Westhead has come out, this has gone back a number of years, and a lot of it was on Herdman's watch before he turned the team over to Bev Priestman when he took over the men's team.
Nielson and Hustler with you. This text comes in and says, Bill Belichick walked so Team Canada could run. And you know what, Huss? Do you think in the big picture, like there were multiple cheating scandals with the Patriots, it hasn't impacted the legacy of Brady or Belichick really now, right? Like there's a bunch of us who'll be like, but remember this, remember that. But I mean, it's not like we're saying, well, Bill Belichick can't be the greatest coach of all time or Tom Brady can't be the GOAT because they're involved in. It's kind of crazy that we don't, but it's like it was so long ago that we don't look back on it and say, wow, it impacts their status among the all-time greats.
Yeah, I mean, Spygate, the deflated balls, there was a whole bunch of things. That kind of was the funny thing. I mean, selfishly, this really sucks for Canadian soccer, and I'm a big supporter of our national teams. It did give guys like me a beautiful opportunity to reset all of those Patriots jokes that we had many years ago. And as I tweeted out, I blame the Patriots. I mean, the fact that they did this sort of thing and had such success, no doubt people were going to try to, do that same thing in some other sports. And unfortunately, we had an absolutely amateur operation where we bring some guy over and gets arrested immediately upon throwing that drone up. I still can't believe what they were thinking. But anyways, we move forward. We'll have a few more cracks. And like the Bevlicek is just so perfect because, of course, Bev is taking heat. She's actually getting more of a punishment than Belichick ever did. Like,
yeah,
Tom Brady, the organization got it. Belichick always kind of skated on all of that. I wonder if Connor Scallions is involved with the Canadian program. You remember Connor Scallions? He was the Michigan guy from last year, Harbaugh's guy that would show up at the other games, recording signs and all of that. And that was like the big controversy last year in Michigan, as they won the national title. And again, no one was talking about that when the Wolverines went 15-0 and finally won that national title. So it will pass over, but there will be a reckoning within Canadian soccer, and this is going to be a stain on our program for a while. I cannot wait. Let's actually just pull this up, this Olympic soccer on the women's side of things.
By the way, quickly, we do have a Herdman quote from earlier today. This is from MLS insider Tom Bogert, and this was a quote from Herdman. Directly asked if he had any knowledge or involvement of drone spying when he was the head coach, John Herdman denied. In my time as head coach at Olympic Games or World Cups, we've never been involved in any of those activities. So,
in Olympic Games or World Cups.
Careful with the wording, I guess, eh? Yeah.
Well, we will
see how we'll see how this plays out. Whatever it is, don't pick up your phone when Rick Westhead calls.
No, if it's our Westhead, you're blocking that number. But it's funny. There's a lot of people going at Westhead right now for his reporting. I'm like, guys, I mean,
Hey, look, that's his job. What's he supposed to do? Gloss over it
Yeah.
just because it's our country? Then you can't put any stock into anything else he did. Look at the major stories this dude is broke. He basically took down Hockey Canada. Now it's Canadian soccer. I mean, he's an investigative reporter, and by all accounts, a very good one. So
yeah, I mean, he's the one guy that, well, I mean, not to mention, I mean, the Blackhawks, Kyle Beach, like, well, all the insiders were sitting around probably having a pretty good idea what had happened and not saying a damn thing. I mean, Rick was the one that kind of had the courage to move forward. And I mean, he probably ruffled a lot of feathers and made other people's jobs tough dealing with the National Hockey League and whatnot. But that's what he is there to do. Speaking of that game, I'm just looking. Here are the odds for the France-Canada game. So it's Sunday afternoon, or I guess Sunday night, prime time in Paris. France minus 167 favorites on the three-way. Canada 5-1, and a draw plus 285. Total for the game is 2.5. The overs even money. Under is minus 122. And then on the adjusted line, the three-way, like France minus 1 is plus 180 for France. A draw, which would be France winning by 1, plus 240. Canada plus 1 is plus 135. So I guess on that bet, you're basically betting Canada to win or draw at plus 135. But they were already underdogs in this game. And when you add in the circus around this team right now, I mean, these women have been put in a terrible spot right now. And they already were, in a spot where they were kind of punching up at a bunch of teams that had really established themselves maybe in another tier when it came to the top of women's soccer around the world.
Before we wrap, we'll quickly get to Winnipeg Sports Talk, but MLB Parlay, we got to put something together here. I got a little note here on the Cincinnati Reds, minus 104 today. They're on the road in Tampa against the Rays. It's a game that'll start at 4:50 Edmonton time. I like the Cincinnati Reds at minus 104 tonight against Tampa. Are there any games that have jumped off the page for you at all, Huss, if you had a chance to look at the card? Yeah.
Well, Modolo on the bump for Cincinnati. He's had a great season so far, 8-3 with a 3.51 ERA. I would say the Orioles, they're too big of a favorite to put on it. They're taking on the Padres. By the way, Dylan Cease with the no-hitter yesterday. That was sort of neat. Now, could this be Yusei Kikuchi's final start as a Blue Jay?
Oh boy. Are you gonna roll with Kikuchi one last time just in case?
Well, I mean, I will personally. I probably would feel bad backing the Jays coming up on a parlay, considering the way they have been so far. Interesting matchup: Dodgers Astros. Stone versus Franco Valdez. Valdez has been great. Marlins at Brewers. The Brewers are a massive favorite in this one. Trying to look at a number that kind of makes a little bit more sense. I don't think I can handle betting the White Sox. The Cardinals are a big one. This Angels Athletics. I think we need to stay away from that. We've got Pittsburgh as a pretty big underdog in this game tonight. They're on the road. Ortiz versus Zach Gallen. Man, I kind of am coming back to either the what do we got here? What about the Braves tonight? Charlie Morton starting for Atlanta. Senga, I believe he's first start for the Mets. Heck of a game last night, the one that went to overtime. Some great defense, some awesome pitching in that matchup. I mean, I think there's value on Atlanta at plus 110.
Yeah, they've lost 5 in a row. So
I mean, that's going to turn
could
around.
Be a slumbuster at some point.
Betting on them throughout that. And listen, what about the Yankees Red Sox at Fenway? The Yankees are 33-21 away from the Bronx. You've got Cortez, who's 4-9. He's 4-9. He's got a sub-4 ERA. His last 5 appearances have all been losses for the Yankees. That is not really putting together much confidence. Bello, actually, for the Red Sox has been really good over this last little bit. I don't know. What do you think on that one?
I don't know.
Ryan Bello. I mean, the Royals are at home. Royals are at home to the Cubs. It's minus. What is it? I've got this. I was just looking at the pictures up on ESPN. What's Kansas City's number here for today's game? Oh, it's less. It's minus 147. Why don't we go? I mean, it's a big one for Kansas City. They've been playing great. Bobby Witt is on absolute fire.
We're throwing it into a parlay here, right? And the Reds are a decent number, so.
Whoa, Bobby Witt total bases is over 2.5 now. That's how hot he is. It's not 1.5. It's 2.5 for Bobby Witt. But again, so if we have that one and you had the Reds, well, you know what? If we do Royals Reds, it's plus 230. Yeah. We'll probably get boost up to plus 250.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I looked at it. I got it sitting right here. I see plus 230. So Reds and Royals. P. Greg or Jake, if you guys are watching, let's get that one up. That'll be your MLB double play parlay. Reds, Royals, plus 230. Huss, what's coming up? Winnipeg Sports Talk right away.
Well, we're going to talk some Olympics right off the bat. Ken Wiebe is going to join us for his weekly visit. We'll hit Bombers. We'll hit Jets. Ed Tate will join us from Toronto to tee up tomorrow night's game. And then Jeff Bannon from the guys putting together our big Regina invasion on the 1930 Crew Tour for people if they want to get seats to join us on that Labor Day trip. So all coming up, and then finishing it up with marbles. Shout out to all the ESTers. There's been a few close calls with some nasties that have almost won the marble race over the last little bit, and plenty of lock shoppers too. So I will wish you all luck. It is going to happen sooner or later. Have a good call on the weekend and a great weekend there, dude.
Yeah, I will, buddy. I will talk to you on Monday, my man. That's Huss, Winnipeg Sports Talk. Thank you very much for joining us on the Lock Shop today. Good luck with all of your bets tonight, and we'll talk to you on Monday.